Hi, welcome to Paging Creatives. I'm Bella. We're back. This is a channel where we support artists of all kinds. Pursuing a creative career can be a frustrating, isolating journey. So I sit down with working artists who are forging their own paths in hopes to encourage and inspire you, and hopefully create a community of artists where we come together, support, uplift one another, and even network to further our creative endeavors. Today, I'm sitting with the lovely, talented director and actress, Rachel Hemsley. Rachel.
Hi.
Hi, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. Love to be here.
I'm excited about this. So tell me a little bit about where you're from and how you grew up.
I am from Southern California, down here, about an hour east of LA in Riverside County, actually a little horse town called Horsetown, USA. So I grew up kind of in the sticks. But it was the perfect place to get to just let my imagination run wild. I was homeschooled from 3rd to 8th grade, so I just got to really have a lot of time to imagine and nurture my writing and my creativity. And I think that has really been essential for putting me where I am today. And so I went to film school in Orange County at Chapman University. Their film school, Dodge College, is amazing. And that's where I got a lot of hands-on experience and just met amazing people. And then, from there, moved up here to LA and now actually doing the thing that I love, which is crazy.
I love that. Do you think your parents and your family were they instrumental in your creative journey?
Oh, yeah. My parents, from the get-go, they're both very creative themselves. My dad was in the industry a little bit. He was a model and did some directing and acting. And my mom's a doctor, but she loves writing and painting and a lot of different things. So the creative was always really encouraged in my house. And even when I decided I wanted to go into movies, I mean, because my dad had been in it a little bit, I think they understood kind of what it was really about. But even more so, they were just so unbelievably supportive. Even to this day, it's like no matter what I decide to do in this industry, they're behind me 100%. I really realized moving up here how few people have that.
Exactly.
Families just, especially that are pretty removed from the industry, they see it as, Sin City, like another just really dark place. But it can be, that's why we're here, right? Is to change that and to make things that will change the culture. And
Right.
So I think my family, they really love that about what I'm doing. And so, they're a huge inspiration and support for sure.
So there's been some push over the last couple of years for diversity and inclusion, and women directing and being behind the camera is a big thing now, and we're getting more and more opportunities. When you set out to direct, or did you set out to direct first? Let me ask you that. Was that the dream first?
Well, actually not totally. So I'm a writer first my whole life. I started writing when I was 10 years old. And so the storytelling aspect was always there. And so I actually went to film school for screenwriting. And I always figured I wanted to direct, but I thought that'd be way further down the road. And then I had been a script supervisor professionally for about 6 years while I was writing, while I was doing little acting things here and there. And then one day it felt like this switch flipped, and I just felt this kind of like in your spirit, you just feel like, wow, it's time. Like I need to direct like now. Kind of fire gets put under you. And then within a month, I started producing and directing for a studio that was doing YouTube series for the bigger studios, so like Disney, Warner Brothers. And I found myself directing almost full time, within a couple of months of that switch. And so, ever since then, and now I just can't see myself doing anything else except for, writing and directing, and then of course acting.
I love that. So you didn't have challenges, or you didn't see where you weren't given opportunities, which is great. So to me, that means you were in your space. That's what you were supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I have had a very unique go about it where I have not come up against a lot of just whether it's, I don't know, sexism in the workplace or even just, opportunities being denied or I guess I haven't had a lot of that, but I know a lot of people that have. So I've had a lot of second-hand experience of that. But yes, I mean, even in casting with some of the studios, I that's where I really started to see with the push of diversity and inclusion, even just especially with women behind the camera, that's been interesting to see the different motives behind pushes in different areas. That's been very fascinating for sure.
So, and then the acting aspect of it, because I was actually very pleasantly surprised to learn that you also act.
Yeah.
Do you create projects specifically that you can put yourself in, or is it kind of like an afterthought, or how does that work for you?
Yeah, I never really went after acting, I'll say professionally, with an agent and actually full time because, there's so few roles for women, especially right now, that I feel are really honoring to women and are honoring for me, like my value system, like I don't want to kiss anyone on screen that is not going to be my future husband or my husband. And so that to me is really sacred. And there are very few roles that actually cater to that, that aren't like weird roles or, and there's a lot of, anyway. So, I mean, the point being, I felt professionally it didn't make sense. And so making my own content and getting to play the characters that I want to play that are fun for me, it's really just fun.
Yeah.
It's like, why do it if it's not fun? If you're going to step into a character and you're going to really live in that for any amount of time, you really want it to be something that you want to live in. And so for me, that comes down to creating my own stuff.
I love that. Is there anything you can say to any female director writers who are out there who want to try to break into the business, or do you have any advice for them or what they could do?
Make your own stuff. Just go out there and make it. Honestly, everyone thinks, I need so much money to rent a camera, to rent equipment and people. You can make something on your iPhone and you can edit it and you can, make it really good actually just by being scrappy. Write something for what's around you, your apartment. If you have like a cool backyard somewhere that you could do something in, like do it. Write if you want to direct and act, because that's something I do often is I will, act in something, but I'm also directing. And that's a skill in and of itself. And that's something that has been fun to learn that process and how to do that well. But it's possible. It's so possible. Just surround yourself with people who are just as passionate as you are about making your own content, and just get people excited about a story. And you can start small and work your way up. But at the end of the day, it's getting reps in, right? It's like, it's all practice. Even if something turns out absolutely terribly, which I have had several things turn out very terribly.
Same.
But it's all, you learn so much. And I feel in this industry, we're not really given permission to fail at all. But failure is the only way that you learn.
Exactly. And I think that's interesting too, because it made me a lot less critical. When you're watching things and you're just like, ugh, it's horrible.
Yes.
I've had things where it just looked and sounded so good on paper. But the execution of it, and then we got to the finished product and it was like, this is not what we thought this was going to be, and this is not what we set out to make. Yeah. But then I did get a chance to learn from that, and then I won't do that again. So I think that's great that you say that there's not a lot of space for failure.
Yes. Yeah. So at the end of the day, they say, you need the experience, but then to get experience, you need the job, and to have the job, you need experience, right? It's that catch-22. So if you're just going out there and doing your own thing, honing your craft, and the real thing is like figuring out what your style is and what you like to make, the kind of camera movements you like, how you like to tell a story. You can never do too much of that, and you can never train enough in that area, because that's what's going to make you a good filmmaker, is knowing what you like and how you do things well. So it's the practice that you just can't get enough of, really.
Are you fortunate enough that you can pick and choose directing projects too? Do you turn things down sometimes?
Yes, I do. For a lot of my professional, like, money-making career, it has been a lot of YouTube stuff and YouTube series and kind of commercial-esque things. And for the most part, though, I haven't really had to turn down too many because they've all been such great opportunities. And a lot of them have been working with kids. And I love getting to work with kids and getting to instill great messages with kids' content. But there have been a few things that, I'll get a script from someone like, hey, I want to do this thing, whether you script supervisor, direct, or produce. I actually have a lot of people ask me to produce as well. And, if there's stuff in that script where I'm like, I wouldn't feel comfortable with, my family watching this, my kids watching this someday, or just I sometimes even being there on set for some of that stuff. I have had no problem saying no, and I've never once regretted saying no, ever.
I love that. You need to know your value.
Mm-hmm.
There was a point where I would just say yes to everything because we're taught that there's so few opportunities. And, a lot of times there are in major spaces. That's changing a little bit. But I think it's important to honor your values and the value of yourself, and sometimes just say, no, I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
In reference to that, I want to circle back to something because you said there's a lot of darkness, or people view this place as a lot of darkness here. And we're both Christians, and we're supposed to be the light of the world. And you are an evergreen person. I love the evergreen people.
Oh, yeah.
And speak to me about how your faith plays a role in your creative work.
Well, my storytelling, I storytell with the Lord, and it's really the only way I can do it. Is he has infinitely more good ideas than we do. And, that abundance of imagination and just the possibilities from that heaven perspective. I've just found that, they say nothing's new under the sun, but we can tell something uniquely from our perspective. And I think that's the key right there, is that the Lord can work through our unique perspectives and then give us these heavenly downloads for ideas and strategies, even how to go about telling a story, And so every time I sit down to write, it's always with the Lord, and it's always like, okay, God, how do you want to tell this story today? What's going on with this character? Dream with me. And really, that's the thing, is getting to have fun doing it with the Lord. I feel like sometimes it's like, okay, I need to get to this page count. I need to finish this script. And that can be such an inhibitor of really getting plugged in. But it's just so fun for me. Yeah. So even on sets when I'm directing, right? Getting there early and praying over the space and just inviting the Lord into that, and knowing that there are going to be challenges and there's going to be things that go wrong, but even getting to come up with solutions in the moment with the Lord. There's been times when it's we're running out of time, an issue came up, the client wants something that we can't do, or whatever it is, and I'll feel totally stuck and at a loss and be like, I need to step off for a second and just turn away and have that moment and be like, okay, Holy Spirit, how are you going to handle this? Because you have all the solutions and nothing is impossible with you. And immediately, without fail, he will always pull something through and give me something. And so it's literally partnering with him in every aspect and keeping the focus on fun. That's how I create, and I can't do it any other way.
That's pretty inspiring. And it's interesting because we are supposed to be in that space all the time. And I forget to pray in those kinds of moments.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, he wants to hear from us all the time. He wants that relationship. Yeah. Did you grow up in church?
I did. Yeah, I did grow up in church. And even from a young age, I was really close with the Lord. And it came through creativity. It really did, because my imagination was so vast and so always active. I was the kid that was just daydreaming all day long. And I feel like that's where he really came in and spoke to me the most, because we would just imagine together, and I would imagine, what did he look like? What is he saying? And that's how I learned how to hear his voice, and even from a really young age. So I've been writing with him since, 12, 13.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So what are you working on? Or are there any projects that you have just completed, or do you want to tell everyone about those?
Sure. Yeah. I just finished another short film, that is basically a pilot for a TV series that I'm going to be pitching. And it's really fun. It's fantasy, and it's kind of about the Greek gods and goddesses in a modern day setting. And so that's something really fun that I'm working on. Once the strikes are over, obviously, we're going to start pitching that around. And but my main project right now is my first feature film as a director that I wrote that I'll be directing. And right now we're getting financing for it, and it's kind of my my real heart project right now. And it's about a grandfather and a granddaughter, and those relationships, those intergenerational relationships, I just love. I love telling those stories. We need more of that. I feel like there's such gaps between our generations these days. And so this one, it feels like an early 2000s Disney movie, like those family films that just, it had heart and it had meaning, and, they weren't trying to push a lot of agendas, or they weren't trying to get too serious with subjects,
Right.
but just really bringing back the love of childhood and nostalgia. So, yeah, that's a real heart project for me right now that I'm really excited for. Hopefully we would love to film early next year.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you brought up the strikes. How are the strikes affecting you?
Well, it's interesting being in an independent position because I'm not part of SAG, and I'm not on the WGA yet. But, I'm fully aware of everything that is going on and what they're asking for. And so I'm definitely standing with both. And it's been very cool to see people rallying alongside in every aspect of the film industry. And it's funny because, I've been working with the studios for a very long time and in those higher up areas. And so you do see a lot of different sides. But for the independent, perspective of things, with say pitching the show that I'm going to be pitching, even though I'm independent, I'm not WGA yet, they still aren't taking any new contracts or looking at things. For my feature film, we want to start reaching out to actors soon for attachments, and there's a lot of gray area there. Can they even be reading things? Can we even be signing contracts, even if we get a exemption from SAG for us if we shoot completely independently and non-union. But there's just so many question marks. It's just kind of taking it week by week and being really informed. But to be honest, it's it is also in God's timing that I really haven't worried about it too much, because it feels like, oh, this is pushing everything back. We want it to be in production by end of the year or whatever it is. There has not been a single time in my career where there's been a delay or something hasn't worked out the way I thought it would. And I haven't looked back and been like, wow, every single time I've looked back and just thought, that's exactly how it should have been. That's exactly, the Lord did it exactly this way for exactly this reason. And even though I didn't understand it in the moment. So I feel like that's just a really big one of those right now. And I'm just really praying that there is a resolution that protects the people that are really making all the magic happen. And
exactly.
The actors, the writers that, we are, without us, there is no filmmaking. There is no movies. There's no storytelling. And business has really, become the reason for everything. And money has become the reason for everything, every single decision that's made in the process. And that's not how it used to be. And I mean, it is a business. Yes, understand that. There has to be both sides balanced, but not at the cost of people's well-being.
Or their ability to pay their rent or eat food.
I just
It's a lot. I know. We could go on about that forever.
Yeah.
I always ask a question at the end, and my question now, I was at Cafe Gratitude, and the question there was, what are you overcoming? And I really liked that question. What are you overcoming?
That's a good question. What am I overcoming? I am overcoming the lie that things are impossible to get done, especially so as a female director, as a female producer, and getting to do my first feature film with a budget that is, over $1 million. And there are a lot of people that are like, oh, well, that's going to be impossible. Good luck with that. Like, it's going to be so hard. You better prepare yourself. Like you're going to get screwed over by the distribution people. You're going to be, all yada, yada, yada.
I hate when people do that.
I know. It's so rampant in this industry, and especially for women. But honestly, it's actually, there's a Batman. I love Batman. There's a Batman quote that I love that is, everything's impossible until someone does it. And, nothing's impossible with God. And so he will do things in the unconventional way. And he doesn't have to work the way the industry works. Like, yeah, if I did things exactly how the industry does them, a lot of things would be impossible. A lot of things would be really hard and really difficult. I probably would get screwed over in multiple areas. But the Lord is so creative, especially as a businessman. He's a businessman. He is the best businessman. And so he can give insight and do things in ways that I never even thought of. And so in this whole process, just learning how to capture those thoughts of like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing. This is my first time doing this. Like, what if I'm terrible? Like, I can't do this, right? Mm-hmm. Those thoughts they will stop you before a producer person or a phone call ever will.
So true.
And so stopping those and being like, nope, that's a lie. I don't know whether I can do this or not, or whether this is going to work out yet. So I'm just going to go until the door closes. And then if a door closes, it's because it's not the right one and God has a better one. So I'm just going to pivot. And that mindset, it's like I would be drowning in like depression and fear and anxiety every single moment of the day if I didn't stop that thought process. And that's just what we all have to do. We have to stop giving into those the preset, for years and years this is how it's been and you have to do it this way and it's going to suck and it's going to be terrible. No, I don't believe that for a second. There's always ways to do things.
There definitely. Amen.
Yeah.
There's a lot of gems in there. I will even take some of those for myself. Thank you so much.
Good. I'm glad.
Thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Tell everyone where they can find you.
You can find my website, rahemsley.com. Has a lot of my stuff on there and how to get in touch with me. I'm on Instagram, r.a.hemsley. And I'd be looking out for the new content coming out, I guess.
Yay. Yeah. And I will link all of that as well. Thank you so much for watching, listening to Paging Creatives. Please like, subscribe, comment. It really helps the channel. I know you see me in my SAG shirt and this, SAG after strike captain. Please, everyone, get informed about what's going on. This is a historic moment for everyone, but they are trying to eradicate performers and writers, and we have to get involved. We can't let that happen, guys. We just definitely can't. I know I usually say something else and that's a bit more political than I usually am, but I just really want you to get informed. I see a lot of people saying a lot of things where they think we're just whiny actors and we all make a lot of money and we have millions of dollars. That's not true. Please know that most people in our union don't even make the $26,000 threshold that you need to have insurance. So that being said, thank you again. Creatives, your art brings light and love into the world, and I love and support you. Keep creating.